childhood in Biloxi? Maybe some of the memories you have, or what made it so special to actually live and grow up in Biloxi?
Well, it was in the best of times, you know. As I recall, I was born in 1947, in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, when I really, made my bones. And so it was just the best place in the world to grow up, you know, especially when you got all these cousins and aunts and uncles. There was no better place than Biloxi for me, for Biloxi, for Gilich.
Right.
No.
Well, the name FoFo. A lot of folks know how that came about, and a lot of folks don't.
Well, a lot of people don't, but Fee-Fi-Fo-Fo-Fum. You remember that little part of Jack and the Beanstalks? My brothers would read to me all the time, and I would go ballistic when they'd read that part of Jack and the Beanstalk to me. And so that was hung on me early, 2-3 years old, and that was part of the ball game. Well, you know, again, my grandparents, all immigrants from Croatia. My parents, had that spirit of entrepreneurs, and then again, as education became, aunts and uncles that were lawyers and doctors and dentists, and that was all part of our Croatian heritage. Back then, it was called Yugoslav, which was South Slavic, but that's from the 1900s all the way to today, now Croatia. So we're real proud of where we came from, and literally that whole spirit of we'll make our way. We'll do what needs to be done, and not only for yourself, but for your kids and the kids to follow. Growing up in the seafood industry, my parents, we were all as a child. My first paying job. I had a job all my life growing up in the Foodland supermarket. So we taught to work, from day one. And well, not so much day one, but my brothers, they say I was spoiled a little bit. But I did work as a can catcher at 11 or 12 years old. Of course, I was with all my cousins too. So literally, that for those who don't know, before food refrigeration, they would can shrimp and can oysters and everything related to getting those things. But at the end of the process, the shrimp were put in the cans, and the top was put on, and one of the seafood families, Gilich families, every Croatian kind of situation, they were put into a rack, and the rack would be pressure cooked, and then the labels put on it. So that was when the shrimp was put in the can, that's when I put my hands on the can and my fingers into the shrimp business as a kid. I guess the history of Biloxi and what I've seen as far as the different families of Biloxi and the different aspects of Biloxi was very, very cool. And for me to just even think about the opportunity to put a little of my thought and my fingerprint on the city and its history and its from its history to its future. Wow. That was the need. So to lead Biloxi down a path, it was a great pleasure, great honor for me to be mayor of Biloxi.
Well, what are some of the things that make you proud to be overseeing the city of Biloxi?
Well, everything makes me proud it's almost like asking you, who's your favorite child? I mean, every aspect of this job. I know you're going to probably ask me whether it's stressful or what's the easiest. It's all easy and it's all stressful.
Right.
But that's what I thrive on. Is the ability to understand a problem and to define and craft a solution, and then you have to explain those things. That's stressful sometimes when I see what's right, and then I have to get that across, not just the city council, but everybody, from Washington D.C. all the way down. Things that make sense to you. I guess the ability to say, okay, explain. And my wife hits me all the time. You just got to explain it where people can understand it. I understand it. It's not apparent to a lot of other folks. So I guess where the most stressful things would be, say, how can you make people understand what you're trying to accomplish?
What are some of the things that you're most proud of as mayor? Is it the city, the people, or the way things are changing and growing?
Well, I'm most proud of Biloxi's future. That's what makes me most proud. We've come through a lot of tough times in the last 2 or 3 years, right? Since 1919, or 2019,
Absolutely.
2020, 21. Here we're on 23. 22 is another successful year. It's pretty cool to what we've done and what we've accomplished. So it's hard to say just survive. It just the outlook of the future makes me proud. This is a good place.
speak?
Well, it is family. And I've said this over and over again. What Fred Hayes talked about Biloxi in 1941. Everything changed in 1941. It went from 18,000 people to almost 100,000 people overnight. I was born in 1947. 1948, just about 2 blocks away from Keesler, we opened Foodland Supermarket. That's where I grew up. I was born on Main Street, and I grew up right there. Keesler, and it's everything related to Keesler. Apartments, garage apartments. Talking about short-term rentals. You look at the garage apartments that are today in there. We were part in the whole economies were tied together from 41. As Fred mentioned, how he learned geometry in the Union Bar watching the pool hustlers. But literally every form of entertainment that we're trying to resurrect and trying to create on the Howard Avenue. But it was all over the city, every bit of it. You looked at how the city limits have changed. There's a lot of talk about the Biloxi boys and some of those things. People don't understand. Biloxi was only to Rodenberg in the '60s, right? And that was and Gulfport was to Hughes Avenue. Okay, so in between was the Strip, and that's some of the things. But it's all part of our history. All of these in bits and pieces are part of Biloxi's history, and it's just. Keesler was an integral part of life in Biloxi. Not only seafood and tourism, but Keesler too. And that brand, Biloxi and Keesler, are right there together. You can go anywhere in this country and run into somebody. Oh, I was stationed in Keesler. I want to come back because I was stationed every day. You've seen some of the people that come in here, and I take them out on the back patio or on the balcony, and then through the city. It's an economy in itself. Hey, I want to revisit my life in Biloxi. That's a pretty cool thing. Well, in 2015, there was a significant amount of work with regard to Katrina recovery, and a lot of stuff was supposed to be been underway and taken care of. But in 2015, we had 50 miles of street torn up. And probably $130 million worth of work to go out of 344. Well, we've got about $115 more million to complete, and we've done the parts of the south contract, and now we're working from the west. You can see the work from DeBees Road, with the infrastructure, the water and the sewer mains that will, and eventually eliminate a bunch of stuff. That's a pretty good accomplishment, and we had to take the bull by the horns, and we stepped up, our staff in order to accommodate the FEMA demands and the MEMA demands, and so that's a pretty, that's just sort of a given. These projects are going to be going on for a while, but we got to make it orderly and make it make sense, and so I'm kind of proud of that too. I think it'd be appropriate to mention too, you talked about in our 2020 census, we grew about 5,000 people, right? And we were at 49,800 and something, but guess what? We got 7,000 hotel rooms, 4.2 million visitors a year. This is not a 40 or 50,000 population town. It's more like 100,000 at any one point in time. You look at the meetings we have and the people, the things that we support as police and fire and the whole package. So we're a little bit bigger than you think, what the world thinks. I mean, we've got to accommodate a lot of things, and that's a challenge. You're in these meetings with us every Monday morning. And
even the events that are brought to the city of Biloxi, some of them are regional, and a lot of them are national events. Cruising the coast,
yeah, cruising
Mardi Gras, the population doubles.
I was explaining to Senator Roger Wicker, the other day. He was here participating in I think he and his wife Gail, just great people, and had a tremendous time. I said, Senator, this is another part of our economy. You're aware. I think he was here doing cruising the coast. That's a special part of in addition to what we have, in the normal summertime, with the visitation, this is another economy as well. You take it from Christmas now through, through almost all February. I think it's gonna be a little bit early next year. But there's all, phases of Biloxi life, and literally this is the heart of those kinds of things, I think. It is surprising that we just kind of assume we've got to make it safe, we got to make it friendly, we got to make people want to come back here. And I think that hadn't been it's just a way of life for us. It's got to be safe. It's got to be friendly, and that's what everybody expects. And that word gets out. You know, they'll be here because we've been able to accomplish that. Well, we're plugging away every day. My wife will hit me for this, but this is not a task for me. This is more of an addiction, and an addiction that I love, and I think that the people will kind of understand. Now, if you look at if you put the camera on that, we are Biloxi on that wall. Watch that, and that's what it's about. And it's every day, every night, 24/7. Well, our challenges will be revealed. They'll come through that door, our challenges. So I just need to be ready to address whatever comes through that door, and have the confidence that whatever it is, we'll understand it first of all, and then we'll address it. We want to stay in front of the wave. We don't want to be on top of the wave or behind the wave. That's where we're going to be. That's what keeps us going.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate you being with us. And
my pleasure.
We're proud to have you as our mayor.
Well, I thank you.
Just